So in this video, I'll be sharing exactly what beta testers are saying about Hyasine and Cipher in version 3.3 of Honkai Star Rail. Not guesses, not theorycraft, just direct impressions from people who've actually played them in the beta. Some of the feedback is glowing, especially when it comes to how Hyasine fits into current meta teams. Others, well, let's just say Cipher's performance sparked some pretty mixed reactions. Whether you're planning to pull or just curious how they actually feel in-game, I'll walk you through all the details the testers have shared, along with some personal insights and context from past patterns. Save up to 23% on the Casteries banner at lootbar.gg. All you need is your UID and server. The link is in the description. Starting with Hyasine, this one's interesting. If you're running a Casteries team, especially the common synergy setups around HP burn and fast reactive healing, Hyasine isn't just a good fit. She might be essential. One tester even opened their impressions with Farewell Gallagher, which says a lot about how much better Hyasine is working out in that specific team. You know how Casteries always had that slightly clunky DPS cycle? Like it was strong but not always smooth to execute? Hyasine basically fixes that. And the dragon mechanic, this part's really cool. You don't just summon it once and forget about it. You summon it easily, and then you actually get to decide when to fire it off, like a tactical projectile. It adds a nice layer of strategy and feels incredibly smooth to play. Hyasine doesn't just heal the team, she gives Casteries and even My Day a lot more flexibility and stability in combat. Her raw healing numbers might not blow you away, but the frequency of those heals is what really changes everything. The uptime is amazing, and when you're in the middle of a fight, that consistency feels so valuable. But yeah, it's not all perfect. She comes with a very steep energy cost, and unfortunately, she's not good at fixing that herself. Her energy regeneration is just not up to par, and even though she has a skill that helps a bit with it, it's far from enough. That means you'll probably need to plan your team carefully, because if you're pairing her with another character who's also heavily skill-dependent, you'll start running into real resource problems. The turn economy gets tight, and the whole rotation can feel awkward. Another thing testers pointed out is how frustrating she can be to use without her signature light cone. Apparently, the memory spirit system she uses becomes significantly harder to manage without it. In version 3.3, which focuses mostly on multi-enemy content, the delay in building up that memory spirit is only 1 or 2 turns. Not ideal, but manageable. But if you're dealing with fewer enemies, or worse, just 1, it gets a lot worse. For a unit like Hyasine who needs to accomplish a lot, and quickly, that kind of delay is a real downside. Still, the takeaway is pretty clear. If you already run Casteries or My Day, Hyasine is worth a serious look. One tester went as far as calling her a must-pull, putting her in the same category as Tribby in terms of overall team value. That's huge praise. Unless the devs decide to tone her down before release, she's looking like one of the best pickups for version 3.3. Now, Cipher. Cipher is a lot more complicated, or maybe the word is frustrating. The testers had some very mixed reactions to her, especially at early Eidolon levels. The comparison one of them used was pretty funny, but also kind of sad. Cipher is like a cat that's always around, but never really does anything impactful. You might have seen her walking around town, but she's not exactly changing your life. That kind of vibe. And this starts to make more sense when you look at her performance at E0 with her signature light cone. It's just not good, especially when you compare it to Casteries, who had a solid E0 and a useful E0S1. Cipher's combo is a lot weaker, and that puts her in a weird spot where most established teams won't really be interested in adding her unless you're going for at least Eidolon 1 or 2. But once you do get her to that point, things change. At E1 or higher, her debuffing ability becomes a lot more relevant, her personal damage ramps up, and her kit starts clicking into place. You suddenly start to see why they designed her the way they did. The best team for Cipher is, without question, the full Amphorius squad, Castoris, Cipher, Tribby, and Hyasine. It's a synergy-heavy team where everyone's strengths cover each other's weaknesses. Cipher's reliance on skill points doesn't clash with Castoris, who barely uses her own skills. The damage rotations line up nicely. And the combination of follow-up attacks and consistent debuffs means Cipher gets the setup she needs to contribute real damage. But outside of that team, things get shaky. In theory, you'd expect Cipher to pair well with Acheron or Feixiao, right? They're powerful units and benefit from debuffs. But in testing, both of these options showed big problems. Feixiao, for example, already has 78% defense ignore. So when you bring in Cipher with her defense reduction, it doesn't do much. There's too much overlap. And since Cipher at E0 can't provide enough follow-up attacks, she ends up underperforming, almost like a slightly worse Topaz. Acheron's team is also tricky. If your Acheron is still at Eidolon 0, then Cipher can help a bit, especially with defense reduction. But once Acheron hits Eidolon 2, you're much better off running Zhaoqiu. The stronger Acheron gets, the less Cipher matters. In fact, one tester described her as a cat out for a stroll, if Acheron is strong enough. Kind of brutal, but accurate. If you're running a Pella build with Acheron and don't have Zhaoqiu, then Cipher might still find a place. But it's not ideal, and even there, the synergy is just okay, not amazing. Cipher doesn't really pair well with Pella, and the overlap in their roles becomes awkward fast. What really drags Cipher down is her lack of energy regeneration from follow-up attacks. It feels outdated, especially for a 3.3 character. Add in her reliance on effect hit rate, and it starts to feel like she was designed with weird constraints just for the sake of challenge. Testers even suggested moving her E1 effects into her base kit, because right now the jump in value between E0 and E1 is just too steep. To be fair, it's not a complete disaster. Cipher is still a more cohesive character than someone like Anaxa, whose kit is all over the place. Cipher has a clear direction. She just needs a few tweaks, a stronger skill multiplier, some energy regeneration, maybe one more debuff baked into her kit. Small changes that could make a big difference. So where does that leave us? Hyasine is shaping up to be one of the top-tier units of the patch, especially for Castoris and MyDay teams. Cipher, on the other hand, feels like a gamble. In the right setup, she can deliver. But outside of those ideal teams, her value drops fast. If you're a Cipher fan or already have her top-tier teammates, you'll get something out of her. But if you're not planning to go for high Eidolons, or you don't have Castoris, Tribby, and Hyasine lined up, you might be better off skipping this cat. Unless, of course, she gets a few surprise buffs before release. We'll just have to wait and see. So now I'm curious, what do you think? Are you planning to pull for Hyasine or Cipher in version 3.3? Or are you holding out for someone else? Let me know in the comments. Save up to 23% on the Castoris banner at lootbar.gg. All you need is your UID and server. The link is in the description.